Senator Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas. You're on TV, sir, and welcome to Newsmax. It's great to have you tonight, and congratulations on the new book. It's called 7 Things You Can't Say About China. Wow, what are those things? Senator, how you doing? Congratulations again. What can't we say about China?
Well, Greg, thanks very much for having me on to talk about 7 things you can't say about China. Very simply, just to go through them, China is an evil empire. Just look at what they do to their own people. China is preparing for war, the most rapid military buildup in the history of the world. China has been waging economic world war, especially against the United States and our workers and businesses. That's how they underwrite that military buildup. China has infiltrated our society in part because of that massive wealth and economic power. China has infiltrated our government, not just in the Washington swamp, but in state and local government as well. China is coming for our kids through things like TikTok or a reverse opium war, spreading fentanyl in our streets. And finally, and perhaps most chillingly, China could win. We have to take this threat seriously. And 7 Things You Can't Say About China tries to ring the alarm bell today to the threat that China poses to our way of life, to you and to your family. It's not distant, it's not remote, it's not abstract, it's here today.
You've gotten my attention, certainly what they could win. Do me a favor. The infiltration of our society. I know about TikTok. Tell us a little bit more about how they have infiltrated.
Well, look, China does traditional spycraft, like classic Cold War novels or movies, the same way that Soviet Russia used to do, Communist China does as well, but it's so much more pervasive. We did not have strong economic ties with Communist Russia during the Cold War. We do, unfortunately, with Communist China. And because of that vast wealth and economic power, they have tremendous influence in our society. Just consider Hollywood. When was the last time you saw a movie with a Chinese villain? It's been at least since 1997 with 7 Years in Tibet and Brad Pitt. China came down on them like a ton of bricks, and Hollywood got the picture right away that you should not criticize China if you want access to the lucrative Chinese movie market. Or consider professional sports, especially the NBA. If you recall, the general manager of the Houston Rockets posted a simple image about Hong Kong and standing with Hong Kong in their struggle for freedom against Chinese communist oppression. What did China do? It took Houston Rockets merchandise out of stores in China. It shut down for a time streaming of all NBA games in China. It pressured the NBA and its corporate partners at places like ESPN not to cover the controversy at all. You had LeBron James and Steve Kerr, people who normally stand up for free speech if you're advocating for woke social justice warriors, criticize the general manager. This is just a few examples of the kind of vast influence that China has in our society and really in everyday life.
I remember John Cena, whatever the wrestler, apologizing for some silly thing in a movie. Is there any doubt in your mind that Joe Biden, thoroughly compromised by China, some of the stuff he did, letting that balloon fly over our country and a million other things, it seems almost incontrovertible that China has something still to this day on Joe Biden, the family. We know about the money. Your thoughts? Did it really affect policies during the Biden administration?
Greg, I think what they had is a relationship with his son, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden made millions of dollars in China. And remember, there's really no such thing as free enterprise in China, especially free enterprise when it's dealing with Americans, and most notably, the American children of major politicians here. So there's a reason why Hunter Biden was recruited to all those deals in China, and that's because they wanted to exercise influence indirectly on Joe Biden. There's a reason why Joe Biden took Hunter Biden with him to China. Now, it's not just the Biden family. There are others who do this as well, and China, like I said, is working at all levels of government to try to co-opt or to cajole American politicians. Consider the case of Eric Swalwell, now a member of Congress, but earlier a local official who had a relationship with a Chinese spy, apparently a romantic relationship. It's just one example of how China is working at all levels of government to create a large number of influence operations that are designed to help China in its competition and ultimately its strategic goal of replacing America as the world's dominant economic and military power.
Finally, one of the things you said is they could win. And we know they're not. We're going to we're not going to let that happen. But what would that look like if they did? What does a Chinese victory look like?
Well, it probably starts with Taiwan. Douglas MacArthur at the start of the Korean War more than 70 years ago called Taiwan the unsinkable aircraft carrier and submarine tender. He said it would be a disaster of utmost importance if Taiwan fell into the hands of a hostile power to the United States. That's in part because of that strategic geography. Today, you could add onto that critical economic power as well. Taiwan is the site of most semiconductor manufacturing in the world, almost all advanced semiconductor manufacturing. And that affects everything in our modern economy, from your phone to your tablet to your computer, your car, your appliances, tractors, military equipment, and so forth. If China were to prevail in a battle over Taiwan, it would have access to all that. It would probably also throw the world into immediate depression. It would demoralize our allies, countries like Japan and South Korea and Australia. You'd have nuclear nonproliferation. Ultimately, you'd have what Chinese communists told Donald Trump's delegation in a state visit in 2017, that they would try to isolate the United States, cut it off from Europe and Asia, ultimately make it an economic dependency on communist China, where we do little more than provide them with low-cost oil and gas and farm products. So that's what they see us down, years from now, is basically an economic vassal state to communist China. That's what we can't allow to happen.
The book, let's put it on the screen, 7 Things You Can't Say About China by Senator Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas. It sounds amazing. Thank you so much for writing it and for coming on our show to talk about it. And we're out of time, but the next time you got to tell us about this picture. You with that beautiful little cat while you're on active duty in Baghdad. We'll save that for next time. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, we'll be right back.